There was a hidden upgrade in our biology that dragged us out of the animal world and into something stranger. Not a weapon, not a tool, not even fire at first. A shift in how we powered our brains and how we learned from each other. Because the real secret of human evolution isn't we got smarter. It's that we built a body and a lifestyle that could afford intelligence. Then culture poured gasoline on it. And the price we paid is written all over you. Dangerous childbirth, fragile backs, easy choking, anxiety, and a brain so hungry it can't stop burning fuel even when you sleep. So, how did we get here? Start with the most brutal constraint in biology: energy. Your brain is only about 2% of your body weight, but it uses roughly 20% of your resting energy. That's a ridiculous power demand for an organ. If you're going to evolve a big brain, you must solve a simple problem. How do you feed it every day for an entire lifetime? Evolution doesn't want big brains. Big brains are a luxury. They only appear when the environment makes them worth the cost. So the first secret is this: humans didn't evolve intelligence first. Humans evolved an energy strategy that made intelligence possible. That strategy had 3 pillars: better calories, cooperation, and cooking. Better calories means moving away from low-quality, high-fiber plant diets that require huge guts and long digestion. Meat, marrow, fat, and later cooked starches are calorie-dense. You get more energy per bite, and you can spend less energy chewing and digesting. Cooperation matters because high-quality foods are often hard to get. Hunting is risky. Scavenging is dangerous. Sharing becomes survival. Once sharing is survival, social intelligence becomes valuable. You must track who helps, who cheats, who owes, who can be trusted. The brain becomes a social weapon. And cooking, once it arrives, changes everything. Cooking is not just culture, it's biology. It pre-digests food, increases calorie availability, and reduces the need for a massive digestive system. This leads to a powerful idea called the expensive tissue trade-off. Energy is limited, so if one organ gets bigger and more demanding, another must shrink, or the organism must bring in more energy. Humans, compared to other primates, have a relatively smaller gut for our size. A smaller gut saves energy. That energy can be redirected into the brain if the diet supports it. So the human brain didn't grow in isolation. It grew because our entire lifestyle became a system that could pay for it. Now comes the second secret: bipedalism. Walking upright seems like a simple change, but it rewired our anatomy and our destiny. Bipedalism freed the hands. Free hands meant carrying food, tools, infants, and resources. It also changed how we travel. Humans are not the fastest sprinters, but we can cover long distances efficiently. And then there's endurance. Humans are unusually good at cooling themselves. We sweat efficiently, and our relatively hairless skin helps dump heat. That means we can remain active for long periods without overheating, an ability that can turn endurance into an advantage, whether for persistence hunting or long-distance foraging. Endurance matters because it expands range. Range increases opportunity. Opportunity rewards flexibility. And flexibility selects for learning. So slowly, the brain becomes less about raw strength and more about strategy. Planning routes, remembering seasons, reading landscapes, predicting threats. But now we hit the human paradox. If intelligence is so powerful, why are humans physically fragile? Because evolution doesn't design from scratch. It modifies what already exists. Your body is full of compromises. We stand upright on a spine that evolved for a four-legged ancestor. That's why back pain is common. Knees wear out. Our shoulders are versatile but vulnerable. We are built for adaptation, not for perfect durability. And nowhere is the compromise more dramatic than childbirth. Here is the third secret, and it's one of the darkest. Our intelligence made reproduction dangerous. As brains got bigger, heads got bigger. But bipedalism reshaped the pelvis. A pelvis optimized for walking isn't optimized for delivering a big-headed baby. Those two pressures collide. The result is the obstetric dilemma. Human birth is unusually difficult and historically deadly. Babies are born relatively early in development compared to many mammals because waiting longer makes the head even larger and birth even more dangerous. This is why human infants are so helpless. A newborn human can't walk, can't cling well, can't survive without constant care. That helplessness is not just a cute feature of humans, it's an evolutionary consequence of being a big-brained biped. And that helplessness created a new pressure, social dependence. If raising a child takes years, a single parent is at a disadvantage. Cooperative care becomes valuable. Extended family support matters. Social bonds stop being optional and become a survival technology. So the human story isn't a lone genius ape became smart. It's a social species turned childhood into a long training program. Now we reach the upgrade that truly separates humans: language. Language is not just communication. It's the ability to copy information into another brain. A tool can be lost. A skill can be copied. A plan can be shared. A warning can spread. Knowledge can accumulate across generations. Once language becomes strong, culture becomes a second inheritance system running alongside genes. That's the cultural feedback loop. Better communication creates more complex culture. More complex culture rewards brains that can learn faster. Faster learning creates even more complex culture. This is runaway evolution. But language has a cost. Another brutal trade-off carved into your anatomy. Humans have a vocal tract that can produce a wide range of sounds, in part because of the shape of the throat and larynx. That helps speech. But it also makes us easy to choke because the airway and the food pathway cross. In other words, the ability to speak may have increased the risk of dying by choking. Evolution didn't choose speech because it was safe. Evolution chose speech because it was useful enough to be worth the risk. Now, people love the idea that one mutation made us human. You'll often hear about FOXP2, a gene linked to speech and language ability. Mutations in FOXP2 can cause major speech difficulties. But FOXP2 is not a magic language switch. Versions exist in other animals, including songbirds. Human language almost certainly required many genes, many neural circuits, and a long cultural development that shaped brains across generations. So the secret isn't one gene made us human. The secret is that biology and culture co-evolved. Now let's talk about another secret most people don't realize. Humans were not the only humans. For much of our history, multiple human lineages existed at the same time. Neanderthals, Denisovans, and other archaic groups shared Earth with Homo sapiens. They had tools, culture, and intelligence. Neanderthals survived harsh climates for hundreds of thousands of years. So why are we the last ones? That mystery doesn't have a single clean answer. It may have involved bigger social networks, faster cultural innovation, better long-distance cooperation, or simple bad luck and climate swings. But we learned something shocking in recent decades. These groups did not just vanish without contact. There was interbreeding. Many modern humans carry Neanderthal DNA, and some populations carry Denisovan DNA. That means human evolution is not a neat, branching tree. It's a braided river. Some adaptations may have entered our lineage through that mixing, nature's version of borrowing useful code from a cousin branch. So here's the secret inside that secret. Modern humans are a mosaic. We are not the result of one isolated line marching alone. We are the last survivors of a wider human experiment, carrying fragments of other humans inside our genomes. Now we go to the part that feels almost unbelievable. Humans almost didn't make it. Population bottlenecks, times when our ancestors' numbers fell drastically, can shape evolution. Small populations lose genetic diversity and become vulnerable. But bottlenecks can also amplify the traits of the survivors. If only certain groups make it through a harsh period, their biology becomes the future. This is one reason human evolution can look like a rapid shift. Not necessarily because the biology changed overnight, but because the world filtered out most lineages and only a narrow slice continued. So when you ask how we became human, part of the honest answer is we survived disasters that could have erased us. Now, if intelligence and culture are so powerful, why do humans struggle so much mentally? Because the same brain that can plan is the brain that can fear. A mind that models the future can imagine threats that are not present. It can replay social mistakes. It can feel shame and guilt. Those emotions can be adaptive in a social species. They help you avoid danger and maintain relationships, but they also create anxiety and suffering. This is another trade-off. The mind that can build civilization is also the mind that can torment itself. Now let's zoom out and connect the secrets into one picture. Human evolution wasn't one upgrade. It was a package deal. A bigger brain required a new energy economy. A new energy economy required better food and cooperation. Cooperation rewarded social intelligence and communication. Communication powered culture. Culture reshaped the selection pressures. A long childhood became a training system for brains. Bipedalism freed hands and changed travel. Endurance expanded range and rewarded flexibility. And all of it was held together by trade-offs. Fragile bodies, dangerous birth, easy choking, psychological vulnerability. This is why the human body looks like a masterpiece in some ways and a mess in others. It wasn't designed. It was patched. You can see this patchwork everywhere. Our eyes have a blind spot because the wiring is built in a way that made sense during our evolutionary history. Our wisdom teeth often don't fit because jaw size changed faster than tooth programming. Our backs hurt because a spine built for 4 legs is now a vertical load-bearing column. Our childbirth is dangerous because the pelvis and skull are in conflict. These aren't random flaws. They are signatures of the path. Now the biggest question, are we still evolving? Yes. Evolution doesn't stop. It changes its inputs. Humans still experience selection pressures. We've seen traits spread relatively recently in some populations, like lactose tolerance in dairy farming cultures. Resistance to certain diseases can rise. Adaptations to diet, altitude, and environment can shift frequencies. But modern life complicates everything. Medicine allows survival where natural selection would have removed traits. Global travel mixes populations. Culture changes reproductive patterns. Technology buffers environments. So we are still evolving, but we are also editing the environment that drives evolution. That might be the final secret. We didn't escape evolution. We became a force inside it. Now, let's end with one sentence that captures the whole story without romanticizing it. Humans became human by trading physical strength for strategy and paying for intelligence with vulnerability. We traded claws for cooperation. We traded armor for planning. We traded safe anatomy for speech. We traded easy birth for big brains. We traded simple instincts for minds that can imagine the future and fear it. And somehow, that bundle of compromises produced a species that can look back and reconstruct the story. Evolution created a creature that can understand evolution. That is not destiny. It's not progress. It's the outcome of a long chain of risks that happened to work. And the fact you can listen to this, understand it, and feel its weight is proof of the strangest evolutionary upgrade of all. Not just intelligence, but the ability to turn survival into meaning.